Okay, at this time we have defensive coordinator Zach Alley. Questions for Coach Alley? Greg?
Zach, so start with this past week. Some struggles first half, better second half. The positives and negatives out of what you saw Saturday.
Yeah, I told them in the first half they didn't do anything that was new to us, those type of things. It was more execution. We give up 4 busts in a row on the 2-minute drive and you lose the game. And that can't happen on things we had repped a multitude of times. And so that's the biggest thing is the execution and the physicality always have to be there if you want to be able to win any game. And so really that's kind of the, in my mind where we lost it, and everybody said, oh man, what a great game plan, this and that and the other in the second half. And I'm like, all I did was tell them to do their job. Like, that's all we need. Like, just do your job. Like everybody tries to do too much when they feel like they got to press, got to, do more than what's just required of them. And so if we do that, we have a really good shot. Obviously in the second half, there was a lot more of that. And we were able to hold them. They got in some advantageous field positions a couple times, which let them go for it. But I think about every drive either ended on a turnover or turnover on downs the second half of the game. And so in critical moments at the end, I felt like we stood up and played like we should have the entire game.
Challenge this week, how tough is this one?
Yeah, they're really good. They're a really good team. A great quarterback, can throw the ball all over the place. Big, hard to tackle when he gets out and scrambles. The tailback is unbelievable. Maybe the best tailback in the country. He is explosive. He's fast. You can't tackle him. They get him in space. They use him a bunch of different ways. And, he's going to challenge you every single snap to know where he's at and to try and corral him. They find, a bunch of ways to get the ball to him, whether it's handing it off, throwing it to him, those type of things. So, obviously, he's a great player. We got to stop him. And, the receiving core, O-line, both very good groups. There's very few weaknesses as far as their offense.
I asked Coach Rod this question with Eli Holstein, but how big is it to get pressure on him? Because it seems like when there is pressure on him, he can sometimes turn the ball over. So how big is that going into this week?
Yeah, I think it's huge. They want to take vertical shots and try and push the ball down the field, obviously. And if you can get the pass rush there, it's hard to throw it when you're on the ground. So hopefully we can get the guys, in a position to win and have some success that way.
What can you take from just scheming against Parker Navarro to now Eli Holstein? Because there are some similarities to the two of them, and you did have success forcing Parker into turnovers.
Yeah, I think changing the look on them, moving the pocket, doing a bunch of different ways to blitz different guys and attack them. I think that's always a positive. I felt like we did that last week and, tried to get some guys one-on-ones across the front line and just create pressure, and I think that the disguising, the moving, the stemming, those type of things are big for, what we want to do, and we want to give those guys, problems to tell what the pre-snap picture is going to be.
You mentioned Reed and about him being a good back. Is it the passing game element that really kind of separates him a little bit?
I think it's both. I think he's a really good, I don't know, every down back, whatever the heck you want to call him. He's a great runner. And not a big dude, but he will stick his face down, try and run through you just as fast as he'll try and outrun you. And then he is a weapon in the pass game. He catches the ball like a receiver. He runs routes like a receiver. So, he's kind of a matchup nightmare as far as, trying to get him in space.
Some of the missed tackles last week, obviously, is that a concern? Was that more something they were doing or more technique type of deal?
Definitely, I felt like it was technique from our side a couple times. We had him dead to rights, unblocked. There's about, I think I counted 5 times where we had an unblocked defender in his face on the snap of the ball, and we weren't under control and did not come into a, position to be able to tackle him. And we had discussed that week. I told the linebackers throughout the week, said, listen, I'm going to find ways to get you free runs on the quarterback, and we've got to gear it down when we get through there. And, we missed on a bunch of those opportunities.
What do you know about this rivalry, and is it comparable to any of the ones you've coached in the past?
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm sure it's going to be loud and it's going to be rocking in there, and they hate us, we hate them. It's going to be great. And I've been fortunate. I've been a part of a lot of great rivalries. South Carolina, Clemson, Texas, Oklahoma last year. It's been fun, and those are 2 historic ones, and this one's just as big as any of those. And so we're excited for the game, and I think our guys understand what it means with Pitt coming down here.
You're new to this rivalry. A lot of your players are new to this rivalry. How do you sort of internalize the history, the importance of a rivalry when you're not familiar with it?
You know, for me, it's easy to get a chip on my shoulder every week. So I guess like every game feels like that as far as like my mindset. But, you know, I think a lot of our guys are from this area and from around here. And so even though like some of them have transferred in, that type of thing, you know, all they've heard since we got here is, you know, that this one matters, you know, and that the guys coming down, it's an important game. And so we try and, you know, instill that in them. And I think that there's a pretty good consensus that that's what's going on.
Bogo and Ashton Woods both got a lot of playing time due to some injuries, things like that last week. Your assessment of how they played, and does that allow them to be used a little bit more this week?
Yeah, you know, always got to be ready. You know, I tell everyone you got to prepare like the starter. You never know when you're going to be third play of the game. You are. And so I, you know, have a lot of confidence in Ashton and in Ben and all those guys to come in and execute. You know, and to be able to win the game for us. And so obviously there's a challenge with that that comes with not necessarily getting the first team reps all week in practice and then having to go in the game and execute the calls. But, you know, overall wasn't a ton of, you know, mental mistakes from his side. He played pretty well, you know, and it's just a matter of getting those game reps and game experience and making plays in live fire.
They seem to be similar in style to Reed and your starters on the inside. Is that true, or do they bring something different?
Yeah, you know, I think they're pretty similar as far as the guys we look for, man. I want tough, fast, physical, and, you know, smart linebackers that play hard. You know, and I think all of those guys give you that. They're all slightly different, as you'd expect. But for the most part, you know, they know the expectations of how we want to play and what it should look like.
I noticed on Saturday, do you have a get-back guy on the sideline?
Yeah, he keeps touching me. Coach Parker, our strength coach, he helps get me back off the sideline because I can get a little animated. I can get out there. We're trying to keep from getting a penalty. So he's pretty good at it. And then everybody keeps pushing up on me. I don't know why they're doing that. But we keep me off the field as best we can.
How do you expect that, and how do you pick who is going to do that?
I didn't pick anybody. I went down there and said, hey, just FYI, sometimes I'm on the field. Y'all might want to tell me to get back. And then I guess either Coach Parker volunteered or got assigned. I'm not really sure.
Perry's game, 10 tackles last week against Ohio. What did you see from him, and how optimistic are you for the rest of the season with him?
Yeah, you know, Fred plays really hard, so he's always around the ball. So that helps with, you know, making some plays that, you know, all over the field all the time. He's got to wrap up more. You know, I think he missed 9. He made 11. So that's a big thing for point of emphasis this week is getting guys on the ground in space. You know, but Fred's been in the defense. He's played a lot. He knows what the expectations are. He's always a million miles an hour in practice as much as he is in the game. And so, you know, I have high expectations for what he should bring every single week because he knows what they are.
I asked Coach Robbins about just channeling the emotions just from the defensive side of the ball. How important is that for this group? Because if you make a big tackle, emotions could get best of you, but that message that you're going to have to them and just channeling that. Yeah,
consistent performance, you know. You can't get too high, you can't get too low. I think they go as I go within that. You know, and there needs to be excitement. You should be fired up when you make a good play. You should be fired up when you win. You should be disappointed when you lose. You know, and the key is just not to get overloaded one way or the other because the reality is you always got to go back out there and play the next snap.
With a player like Reed, described as maybe the best tailback in the country, do you have to accept and just understand that he's going to make his share of plays and more focus on kind of trying to take away those home runs?
I guess I don't accept that, no. You know, I want to stop him on every play. There's not a single play where I want him to gain anything. But, you know, you try and limit the explosive plays, you know, with whatever you're doing to try and attack him. And so for me, it's just more of, you know, how does he fit within the scheme for them and how do we try and prevent him from, you know, making those type of runs.
Zach, even though you're new to the rivalry per se, you have a close personal relationship with Coach Rodriguez, part of you coming here. Does this bring it to any different level for you trying to do this even for Coach Rod, knowing his history?
Yeah, you know, I think it's a great opportunity. I mean, what a cool story. You know, coming back and being around, you know, just the program with him coming back to be a part of it. And, you know, obviously this game matters. It's important, and it's important to the people in this community, important to the people, you know, all around the state. And, you know, we've got to perform, and I think there's certainly a feeling of intensity and love for that because that's fun. You know, it would really suck if you guys didn't care. It would suck. but everybody cares here, about Mountaineer football. And so that's a positive in my mind, that we've got that much passion for it. And this is a big game for them, and therefore it's a big game for us, and, both for Coach Rodriguez and myself.
How big of a deal will it be for this defense when you get Jamori Robinson back to practicing and playing, since it seems like he should pretty much be back at some point now?
Yeah, I haven't seen him in live fire because it's been like, the battle going back and forth since we got here. But what I have seen, he looks pretty dynamic and looks like a really good player. So I'm excited. Today will be my first day out there with him. So actually being able to go through things and do stuff. So hopefully he can bring us a spark as well.
How big is it when you have a defensive back that commits a pass interference, but then later on in the game they get an interception? How big is that as a defensive coordinator, to have a player that doesn't beat themselves up on a costly penalty like that?
Yeah, I think it's huge. One of the benefits to the iPad nowadays is like you come to the sideline and you can show them the penalty, and it's like, hey man, like you're in great position. You look the wrong way. You look that way, and you got to look that way. And they're not going to throw it. And they were pulling him down and all that too, and they're never going to call it. It's an offensive game. We all know that. But the ability to show them that and say, hey, listen, you were in great position. You did exactly what you were supposed to, and it's just simple as looking here and not there, and you don't get the PI call. And so that, I think, gives them confidence as well.
So in the overall play of the secondary, what did you see from them against Ohio? Got tested, obviously, more than you did Robert Morris.
I thought they were solid. Like I said, some of the big play, we give up penalties for big plays, and we gave up, about 3 busts. And the bust can't happen. That's the biggest thing for me, and what I've really emphasized to them. Like, every now and then you're going to make a competitive one-on-one catch, and that's going to happen just the same way we would expect our receivers to, But the reality is the wide open touchdowns, because we're not doing our job, that can't be the case, And some of that is growing pains of it's new. The system's new. It's happening fast. I got to see what I'm doing. Where am I going? And there's a intentionality to how you have to prepare so that doesn't happen. And that was the frustrating part probably more than anything was we had repped the hell out of those. And it's like, man, what were you thinking? I saw this. Well, that ain't what you're supposed to see because you look at the wrong thing.
So it wasn't communication. It was just a blown assignment?
Yep.
Okay.
Is that what does Pitt do with tempo?
It looks to me like they want to do it as much as they can. They want to go fast. They're trying to score and score all the time. I think they were up whatever it was 30 or something on Central Michigan, and they were slinging it. Like they were down 15. So they're trying to go fast, and I think they know one that gets offenses in rhythm, gets defenses off balance per se, and the more snaps you get, the more opportunities you have to score.
Did you call plays in the field or in the box last year?
I've always been on the field.
Okay. With so much going on that you mentioned, guys pushing you and pulling you, right? The game's fast, and you have, I would imagine, so many things you're trying to monitor with new players and first game, second game, first time starting, all that. How do you keep focused, even keel? Just to make sure you're not overwhelmed and behind a player or miss something.
I think it's just who I am. I don't know any different. I'm just not somebody that gets way high, way low all the time. I'm pretty consistent day to day, and I'm very focused in the game on what my job is and what I have to do to help us win. And everything else, I don't hear any of it. My wife, asked me the day, she's like, "Did you hear the chant and this and that?" I'm like, "No, not at all." Because I'm looking right here, and this play is the most important play of my life every single time. And that's got to just kind of how I just think about it.
Is it easier? That's maybe not in the right word, but having so many assistant coaches you can confer with between series, having the tablets on the sideline, does that take some of the in-the-moment pressure off, knowing, like, I can get this between series? I have 8-10 other eyes helping me out.
Yeah, I think it's definitely helpful to have, good coaches around you that see the issues and can get them fixed. I'm a believer still the iPad's a competitive advantage for the offense, just like the headsets, because they can see what you're in. They know what we're a very multiple defense, and so when we give you looks you're not used to, well, before you just had to go with it on the fly to find them afterward. Now it's, well, hey, look, this is exactly what they're doing. So a little bit of it is, I think takes away from the ability of coaches to, diagnose, see, and do things. But, it's obviously good to have people to talk with and work through problems.
Zach, it's a stupid personal question. The decision to shave or not shave, superstition, just how you feel that day?
Available time, usually, that's a big factor. You know, do I feel like shaving today? That definitely goes into it. And then I cycle through the year: beard, clean shaven, mustache. I tried to go with like the handlebar chops the other day, and she wasn't having that, so we didn't do that. But yeah, that one got vetoed. She likes the other ones, but that one got vetoed. But that's it's kind of a daily decision, I would say, of what I feel like I've got time to get done that day.
So it's not superstition, it's weight driven for the most part?
Yeah. Yeah.
Coach, is there any advantage at all for you that your overall team is so different than last year, but their team is very much the same? So you could probably turn on more of last year's Backyard Brawl and see something relevant, whereas they would not be able to.
I would say so. I mean, probably slightly. You know, I don't know how much of an advantage they have over us, vice versa, of the film study. You know, they've had 2 games to look at who we are. You know, and same thing. We've really got 2 games to look at who they are this year. And though they were similar last year, you know, they weren't exactly the same. The quarterback got hurt, tailback got hurt. There's a lot of things that were slightly different.
Okay, thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.